Someone left a suitcase with my name on it at Heathrow, and inside was evidence of a murder I never committed. My name is Emily Carter, and I thought I knew who I was. But one ordinary flight changed everything. My identity, my past, even my life. What I discovered at Gate 7A will shock you. Watch until the end to uncover the twisted truth, and don't forget to subscribe. You won't believe what happens next. It was supposed to be an ordinary Thursday. The kind where your biggest worry is whether your flight will be on time, or if you remembered to pack your charger. Heathrow buzzed around me like a hive of restless travelers. Rolling suitcases, coffee cups, overhead announcements that blurred into background noise. I was heading to Barcelona for a short break, my first one in years. 3 days of silence, sunshine, and nothingness. That was all I wanted. No work calls, no deadlines, no responsibility. Just me. But fate, it seems, had other plans. Passenger Emily Carter, please proceed to Gate 7A. Your luggage has been located. I frowned. Luggage? I hadn't checked any. I was traveling light, a small backpack with my essentials. Still, the announcement repeated. And everyone near me turned, curious, as if I'd done something wrong. I walked toward the gate. My palms were already damp. Something about hearing your name in a public space feels unsettling, like the universe suddenly sees you when you'd rather stay invisible. At Gate 7A, a security officer stood beside a navy blue suitcase. My name tag was neatly tied to the handle. Miss Carter, he asked. Yes, that's me, I replied. But that's not mine. It has your name, ma'am. Could you confirm if you packed it yourself? I didn't pack any checked luggage, I insisted, but he only exchanged a look with another officer. They unzipped it in front of me. Inside was not what I expected. Blood-stained clothes. A man's wristwatch, shattered. A photograph of me, smiling. At least it looked like me. Then a folded note, spotted with something dark. I'm sorry, Emily. I had no choice. The world seemed to shrink around me. The noise, the movement, the air, everything closing in. Miss Carter, the officer said carefully, we need you to come with us. And that's how my holiday ended before it began. They led me through corridors I'd never seen before, narrow, fluorescent, almost too clean. The kind of sterile brightness that makes you feel like dirt just for existing. My backpack had been taken, my phone too. My fingerprints scanned, my photo taken. I tried to keep calm, but my heart kept punching against my ribs. The officer who introduced himself as Detective Lawson had the kind of face that made lying impossible. Not because he was intimidating, but because he looked like he'd seen every lie before. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were printed CCTV stills from the airport. In one of them, I was dragging the suitcase. Same coat, same hair. My face tilted slightly downward. My breath caught. That's not me, I whispered. Lawson's voice stayed level. It was taken less than an hour ago, Miss Carter. Then someone's pretending to be me. You're saying someone found your name, your tag, your appearance, and walked around Heathrow carrying a suitcase full of blood for reasons unknown? When he said it out loud, it sounded insane. I swear I've never seen that bag before, I said. Look, I don't even check luggage. You don't need to explain, Miss Carter, he interrupted softly. You just need to tell me where you were at the time this footage was captured. That should have been easy. But when he showed me the timestamp, my throat closed. 9:42 a.m. I'd been in the coffee line at Cafe Nero. I remembered because the woman ahead of me couldn't decide between almond or oat milk. I reached for my phone. My location history, it'll show. But the screen was blank. Every log, every photo, every message from that morning gone. Erased. Lawson leaned back. Technology can fail at interesting moments. He wasn't mocking me. He was curious. Studying. Like I was part of a puzzle he hadn't seen before. After an hour, he let me go, with a warning not to leave London. Someone will contact you, he said. Until then, stay reachable. When I stepped out into the chill November air, it hit me. I wasn't free. I was being watched. At home, the flat felt unfamiliar. Shadows stretched longer than they should have. My spare passport, the one I kept in the drawer for emergencies, was gone. That's when I realized this wasn't just a mistake. Someone wasn't pretending to be me. Someone was trying to erase me. That night, sleep refused to come. Every sound outside my flat felt amplified. The creak of pipes, the distant hum of traffic, footsteps that didn't seem to belong to anyone. I sat by the window, watching the glow of London bleed through the rain. My reflection in the glass looked pale and hollow. My face, but not quite mine. For the first time in my life, I wondered if I actually knew myself at all. By morning, I decided I couldn't just sit and wait. I went back to the airport to retrace my steps, hoping someone had seen something, anything. But before I could even reach the terminal entrance, I felt it. That prickling sense on the back of your neck, when someone's eyes are on you. I turned sharply. A man in a charcoal coat leaned against a pillar, pretending to check his phone. When I moved, he moved. I crossed the road abruptly, and he followed. I stopped near a cafe window, pretending to read the menu. I watched his reflection in the glass, closing in. Enough. I spun around, my voice trembling but firm. Why are you following me? He didn't flinch. His eyes, gray, sharp, unreadable, met mine like we were two people who already knew each other. You shouldn't have come back, Anna. Anna. The name sliced through me. My name is Emily, I said, backing away. Not anymore, he replied quietly. They already switched the files. It's done. He slipped an envelope into my hand, almost gently, like he was giving me something fragile. Then he turned and disappeared into the crowd before I could even call after him. I stood there, frozen, the rain starting to soak through my jacket. Inside the envelope was a single photograph, 2 baby girls, wrapped in identical hospital blankets. Written in shaky handwriting beneath. Emily and Anna, 1995. My vision blurred. I don't remember walking back to the train station or unlocking my flat. I only remember staring at that photograph under the kitchen light until dawn broke again. Because it couldn't be true. I was an only child. My parents died when I was 17. They would have told me, wouldn't they? But the photograph said otherwise. And so did the letter tucked behind it. If you want answers, use the key. There was a small silver key taped inside the envelope. No address. No note. Just that haunting photograph. And as I held it in my hand, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Don't trust anyone from the airport. Especially Lawson. I stared at the message, heart pounding, because whoever sent it knew I'd met him, knew what I'd seen, and somehow knew my every move. That's when it clicked. The key wasn't just to a lock. It was to my past. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The photograph and the key sat on the table like evidence in a crime I didn't remember committing. By sunrise, I decided. I had to know where the key led. There was a faint engraving on the metal. E23, the kind of tag used in older buildings. I spent the morning searching through rental listings, storage maps, anything that could match it. Nothing. Until I checked the back of the photograph again. Faint pencil lines, barely visible, read. Shoreditch High St. So I went. The building was the kind you pass every day and never notice. Brown brick, half renovated, one of those East London blocks that looked like it belonged to another century. The front door was half painted over, the bell broken. The key turned easily. Too easily. Inside, the air was stale, like no one had opened a window in years. Dust hung in the sunlight like suspended breath. And then I froze. On the table by the window, a half-empty cup of tea. Steam still rising. Someone had been here. But what made my knees go weak wasn't the cup. It was what hung on the wall above it. A collage of photographs. Dozens of them. Every one of me. Me at work. Me at the grocery store. Me leaving my flat. Even one of me standing in front of Heathrow the morning of my flight. Each pinned with small notes, dates, times, and coordinates. "Oh my God," I whispered, backing away. Then I saw the drawer left half open. Inside were IDs, driver's licenses, passports, credit cards, all in my name, but with a different photo. Her. Anna. The face was mine, but not mine. A colder version. Sharper. The kind that didn't smile for cameras. And in the bottom of the drawer, a folder marked Dr. Matthew Klein. I flipped it open. Inside, medical reports, bank transactions, coded documents stamped with something I didn't recognize. Project 7A. The name of the murdered scientist. The name from the suitcase. The name of my gate. That's when the apartment door clicked shut behind me. "I told you not to come here." My heart seized. The man from the airport stepped forward, gun holstered under his coat. "You said not to trust Lawson," I stammered. "You sent the message." "Because he's not police," the man said. "He's part of them. And now you've led him straight here." "Part of who?" I demanded. "The people who made you." His words landed like a blade. I opened my mouth, but before I could speak, the building lights cut out. Footsteps thundered down the hallway outside. The man grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the back exit. "If you want to live, Emily," he hissed, "you need to start remembering who you really are." We burst out into the cold alley just as someone kicked the door open behind us. Voices shouted. The man pushed a USB drive into my hand. "Find her," he said. "Find your sister." And then he ran. I stood there, shaking, clutching the drive. Somewhere behind me, a gunshot cracked through the air, and I realized he might have just died for a woman who didn't even know who she was. By the time I reached my flat, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. The city outside was drenched in cold November rain, and every passing car light felt like a searchlight aimed at me. I locked the door, pulled the curtains shut, and sank to the floor. My heartbeat felt louder than the storm. The USB drive glowed faintly in my palm, small, cold, unassuming. But my gut told me it was worth more than my life. I plugged it into my laptop. Folders. Hundreds of them. Most were encrypted, but a few opened. Photos of me. Medical records with my blood type, DNA sequences, psychological evaluations, MRI scans labeled with codes. Subject, 7A. And then, a video. A man's voice. British accent. Calm clinical. Subject 7A displays full memory assimilation compatibility. Emotional variance consistent with baseline donor pattern. Physical resemblance. Indistinguishable. He paused. Replication successful. Then the camera turned and I saw her. The woman in the footage smiled faintly, looking straight at the lens. It was me, but it wasn't. Same face. Same eyes. But colder. Anna. I slammed the laptop shut. My lungs refused to fill. My body shook as the truth began to drip, slow and poisonous, into my mind. Before I could process it, my phone rang. Unknown number. I shouldn't have answered, but I did. Emily Carter, a man's voice said. Or should I say Subject 7A? I froze. Who is this? You were warned not to dig. Lawson knows where you are. Why me? Because you were never supposed to exist. The line went dead. And then, a knock at the door. Slow. Measured. I grabbed the USB and ran for the fire escape. I didn't even stop to grab my coat. Rain hit my face as I climbed down into the alley. 2 black cars turned onto the street at the same time. Headlights blinding. I ducked into the next street, heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. My shoes slapped against the wet pavement, every step echoing like a gunshot. I didn't know where to go, so I did the one thing that made sense, the only person left who might tell me the truth. My mother's sister, Aunt Margaret. I hadn't seen her in years. When she opened the door, her face went pale. Emily, she whispered, I was afraid this day would come. You knew, I gasped. About Anna? Her lips trembled. You weren't supposed to find out. Tell me the truth. I demanded. Who am I? Margaret sank into a chair, eyes glistening. Your mother, she worked with Dr. Klein. They were experimenting with gene replication, identical twins created in controlled conditions. One of you was born, the other made. I felt my world collapse. Which one was I? I asked, voice breaking. Margaret's silence was the answer. I wasn't the original. I was the copy. A shiver crawled down my spine. My hands went numb. Then her expression shifted. Terror. Emily, get down. A shot cracked through the window. Glass exploded. I dropped to the floor as Margaret screamed. A black SUV screeched to a stop outside. I crawled toward the back door, clutching the USB. Margaret's voice trembled. Run, Emily. Run. I didn't look back. When I reached the alley, she was gone. The lights inside had gone dark. The storm swallowed my cries as I disappeared into the night, hunted, half alive, and not even sure what I was anymore. I spent the next 2 days running. No hotel. No credit cards. No phone. London became a blur of alleys, underpasses, and flickering streetlights. Every time I thought I'd found a safe corner, I saw black cars in the distance. Every time I tried to breathe, the air carried the echo of that single word, replication. The only thing that kept me moving was the USB. I needed to know what else was inside it, because whoever wanted it destroyed was willing to kill for it. I found an old internet cafe in Camden, the kind that still smelled of burnt coffee and cigarette smoke. I used a public computer, trembling as I opened a folder I hadn't noticed before, 7A/contacts. One entry, a name, Anna Collins, and an address, East Ham Safe Storage, Unit 47. I stared at it for a long time, whispering her name out loud. The name that belonged to my face. The name that had stolen my life. The storage facility was deserted when I arrived, tucked behind a row of shuttered shops. My breath came out in shaky clouds. The lock on Unit 47 was broken. Someone had been there before me. I pushed the door open. Inside, a faint metallic smell, blood and disinfectant. And there she was, sitting against a far wall, one hand pressed to her side, her face pale as paper. My face. For a moment, time fractured. It was like looking into a mirror that showed all the pieces of yourself you were too afraid to face. You came, she whispered. Her voice was raw. You're hurt, I said, dropping beside her. Who did this? They did. The ones who made us. She coughed, blood dark on her sleeve. You're Anna, I said. And you're Emily, she murmured. The perfect one. The version that got away. I didn't understand. What does that mean? She looked at me, eyes glassy but fierce. They cloned me from you. I was the test subject. You were the control. They implanted partial memories, your life, your habits, your voice. When Dr. Klein tried to shut it down, they killed him. And blamed me. Why? I asked. Because you were proof it worked, she whispered. 2 identical lives. One real. One created. I felt the air leave my lungs. They're going to erase you, she said. Replace you. Start again. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small drive identical to mine. Everything's on here. Klein's files, the data, the truth about 7A. You have to finish what he started. Anna, we can go to the police. She shook her head weakly. You still don't get it. They are the police. Her hand trembled as she placed the drive in mine. There's a backup server at the lab, Docklands. Room 12B. Get there before they do. Her breath faltered. Don't let them bury me again. You're not dying, I said, gripping her hand. You're not. But her eyes were already losing focus. One last tear slid down her cheek. And then she was still. I held her there for a long time, listening to the rain against the metal roof, feeling the terrible weight of her final words. Outside, tires screeched. Flashlights sliced through the cracks in the door. They'd found us. I slipped the new drive into my pocket and ran into the storm. Behind me, the storage unit burned. They weren't trying to catch me anymore. They were trying to erase every trace of what we were. The rain turned London into a shimmering, broken reflection of itself. I ran until my legs burned, until my lungs were knives. Every streetlight looked like a spotlight, every reflection a warning. When I finally stopped, I was standing outside the Docklands Biotech Research Facility, the place Anna had whispered with her last breath. The place where 7A began. It looked abandoned, but I knew better. I scaled the back fence, tore my sleeve on the metal, and crept through a shattered window. Inside, the silence was deafening, the kind of silence that hides secrets, not peace. The corridors were lined with flickering lights. The air smelled of bleach, static, and old fear. Then I saw it, room 12B. The same number from the USB. The door had a keypad. But Anna's drive contained more than just files. It held access codes. When I entered the numbers, the lock clicked open. Inside was a small lab. Glass walls. A single operating table under a harsh white light. And on the wall, a set of photographs, me. Every year of my life. My school ID. My passport. Even CCTV footage from my flat. Someone had been watching me for years. I felt my stomach twist as I stepped closer. On the next screen, a name glowed in cold blue text. Project 7A, Cognitive Identity Replication Trial. Subject: Emily Carter. Clone: Anna Collins. Status: terminated. The word terminated pulsed like a heartbeat. Emily. The voice came from behind me, calm, familiar. I turned. It was Mr. Hale, my old boss. The man I'd trusted. The one who had always said, "You have potential." "What are you doing here?" I asked. He sighed softly, stepping into the light. "You weren't supposed to see this." "She was my sister," I said. "You killed her." "No," he said quietly. "She was your copy. And she was dying long before you met her." "You're lying." He smiled, almost pitying. "You don't remember, do you? You came to us first. You were part of it. You volunteered." I shook my head. "That's not true." "It is. You signed the contract 6 years ago, for the experiment. You were our baseline. Anna was the trial." He stepped closer. "When it worked too well, when you both started sharing fragments of each other's memories, we had to separate you. Wipe the links. But you found each other again." My knees weakened. "You made us." "No," he whispered. "You made yourself." He pointed at a monitor. On it was a video, me, sitting in a sterile white room, laughing nervously as I signed a form. "I understand," I said in the recording. "If it means helping people with memory loss, I'll do it." I felt like the floor dropped away. "You used me," I said. "We advanced science," he corrected. "But you weren't supposed to remember. Anna wasn't supposed to live." "Then why target me?" He paused. "Because Anna uploaded the truth. All of it. She left breadcrumbs in your memories. You're the only one who can unlock them." I backed away. "You're not going to get it." He looked at me sadly. "I don't need to. The system already has you." A faint hum began under my feet. The floor lights turned red. The lab sealed shut. "You shouldn't have come back, Emily." I grabbed the drives from my pocket, bolted toward the side exit. The alarms blared, echoing down the hallway like a scream. Security swarmed the corridor, but I ducked into a maintenance shaft and crawled through the darkness, clutching the drives like they were my last heartbeat. When I finally emerged outside, the entire building was in lockdown. Helicopters above. Floodlights slicing through the rain. But I still had one thing they didn't. The data and my truth. That night, I uploaded everything anonymously. Every file, every recording, every piece of Project 7A. Within hours, it was everywhere. The media exploded. The government denied everything. But then they found me. I didn't sleep that night. Or the next. London was awake, screaming headlines, flashing screens, chaos in every direction. Leaked experiment exposes human replication trials. Government denies involvement in Project 7A. Everyone wanted to know who was behind it, but no one knew it was me. Not yet. I hid in an old flat above a laundromat in Hackney. The owner, an old widow named June, thought I was just another girl running from a bad breakup. If only. Every night, I watched the city through the cracked window, its lights pulsing like a living organism. I thought about Anna, her face, her last words. I told myself she was free now, that maybe for both of us, truth was enough. But I was wrong. It started with a flicker on my phone. Then, a message that appeared for 1 second and vanished. They know where you are. Then came the hum. That same low vibration I'd heard in the lab, deep in my skull, like an echo that didn't belong to me. I stumbled to the mirror. My reflection glitched for a moment. My face flickered, like a screen losing signal. Panic clawed through me. The next morning, I woke up on the floor. My nose bleeding. My hands shaking. On my wrist, a faint burn, like something had been activated. Then came the knock. 3 slow taps. I froze. Emily Carter? A woman's voice.
Come.
Almost kind. Who's asking? I said through the door. My name is Dr. Lena Voss. I was part of the Project 7A medical team. I'm not here to hurt you. I hesitated. She continued. If you want to live, you need to come with me. They've initiated the shutdown protocol. What protocol? The one designed to delete you. My blood turned to ice. I opened the door. She looked exhausted. Her white coat smeared with rain, her eyes red from crying. They didn't just replicate your memories, she said. They built in a failsafe. Neural decay through subsonic frequency, transmitted remotely. It's how they control identity degradation. You mean they can kill me with a sound? Not kill. Reset. Like wiping a hard drive. I felt my chest tighten. How do I stop it? She handed me a small device, a black, rectangular jammer. It'll block their signal. But only for a few hours. Why help me? Her eyes softened. Because my daughter was experiment 6B. They erased her before I could save her. Silence. Just the ticking of the rain on the metal roof. If you want the truth to survive, she said, you need to leave London. Tonight. We drove through the night, headlights cutting through the fog. By dawn, we reached Heathrow. It was poetic, in a cruel way, ending where it all began. Gate 7A. The same terminal. The same echo of engines and departures. Dr. Voss handed me a forged passport and a one-way ticket to Lisbon. Once you're on the plane, you'll be invisible. They won't risk exposure abroad. I hesitated. What about you? She smiled faintly. I'll stall them. That's my price. You'll die. I already have, she whispered. She squeezed my hand, the last human touch I'd feel from someone who truly understood. Then she was gone. At the gate, I turned one last time. The crowd moved in waves, strangers, goodbyes, beginnings. A man brushed past me, dropping something into my hand. A note. In neat handwriting. You can run, Emily, but you can't outlive what you are. My heart stopped. I looked around. The man was gone. I opened the note again. Beneath the writing was a small, embossed symbol, the same one from the lab. 7A. The screen above flickered. Flight to Lisbon delayed. Then the announcement. Attention, passengers at Gate 7A. Please remain seated. Technical issues are being resolved. And that's when I felt it, that same vibration, deep in my skull. My reflection in the glass shimmered. My face split, For half a second, I saw Anna's eyes staring back at me. "Don't," I whispered. "Please." The lights dimmed. The hum grew louder. People around me didn't notice a thing. And then everything went black. When I woke up, I was somewhere bright.
Clean.
A voice echoed softly. "Welcome back, Miss Carter." The procedure was successful. I turned my head. Dr. Hales smiled through a glass wall. "How are you feeling?" he asked. I tried to speak, but no words came. Behind him, on the wall, a new file name flickered to life. Project 7B, Cognitive Reset, Emily Carter Prototype. Sometimes the truth comes at a price too high to imagine. I uncovered who I really was, but I paid the ultimate cost. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. There are more mysteries waiting, and you won't want to miss a single twist.